Thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, it's really a great honor and a true pleasure to welcome this headline speaker of our third and final day. Actually, we've tried to get him for many years. Somehow, schedules have never lined up in his previous job, so we are very happy and lucky to have him today. As Susanne already said, few other journalists and managers have shaped the global TV and media industry that much. For example, he was the CEO of NBC Universal, CEO of CNN, and now he does something that is quite different. We will talk about it. He's the CEO of RedBird IMI and an operating partner at RedBird Capital Partners. So it will be very interesting and exciting to talk about the financing side of the media business. So without further ado, please welcome with a big applause, Mr. Jeff Zucker.
Thank you.
Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So great you're here.
My pleasure.
So first of all, explain to us what is it exactly that you are doing right now at RedBird IMI?
Yep. So RedBird IMI is a joint venture between RedBird Capital, which is a traditional private equity firm in the United States, based in the United States, with offices around the world, and IMI, which is a media investment arm out of the United Arab Emirates, and both have provided capital to this fund that we are using to invest in media globally. And so the idea is to look for opportunities in the media space. The media space you can think about as broadly as you want, traditional, new, digital, entertainment, sports, news and information, and we're looking for global opportunities across that space.
You're based in New York, but you're obviously traveling the world and making investments globally. One example is All3Media, a big independent production group out of the UK, which you acquired last year, I think. And that, of course, is very present here in Germany as well, with Filmpool, South & Browse here in Munich. What is it? What are your criteria when you make such like investment?
Yeah. Well, our first criteria is, listen, we are looking for opportunities that are going to be profitable. So we are upfront about that. This is
that are already profitable,
no, well,
or that
will
you
be
have a clear trajectory.
Our goal is to make money. Mm-hmm. So we are looking for investments that will pay off in the 3 to 5 to 7 year time frame, and so we are looking for investments that we think will grow over time. So our criteria is, usually on a large scale. We're looking for larger opportunities. We're looking for global opportunities. We're looking for opportunities where we can make a difference. There's a lot of capital in the world, right? There's a lot of capital chasing investments. So I think what we bring to it is both experience and operational know-how. And as you noted, I have a 40-year history of running large media companies, and hopefully being able to apply that experience and that expertise to opportunities that need new executive management, that need new capital, and need the combination of those two. Listen, investing is really the combination of capital and operational experience and magic, and we're trying to put a little of all of that together.
I'm almost sure that in your jobs before, there were moments where, as a leader coming out of journalism, you must have sometimes thought, oh, the CFOs or the shareholders, they should allow me to spend more money on this or that because then I could make better TV. How does this experience inform what you're doing today?
Well, look, I mean, listen, when I was at NBC Universal, we certainly made, we certainly were involved in a lot of M&A activity at CNN. You know, a little bit, and we took some investments. Would I have done more? Sure. I mean, I think actually today is a really interesting opportunity at places like CNN to be investing much more in the digital space and the creator economy and all of that. Sure. Look, I always when you're running one of those places, you're always looking for more capital and more shots on goal, more opportunities to invest. But we did a lot of M&A when I was in each of those roles. So that's one of the things that I think people forget is, yes, what I'm doing now is quite different. I acknowledge, but in each of those roles, we were doing investments, we were doing M&A, we were buying things, we were disposing of things. So, you know, this is not entirely new terrain.
And relative to some of your colleagues at RedBird, is it a different mindset, you would say, that you have looking at potential investment objects?
Well, I think that is part of the magic of what RedBird is trying to do, and hopefully what I bring to the equation is, just as I said, there's no shortage of capital in the world. There's no shortage of investment analysts and people who are looking at opportunities, really smart people who think about these things. I think what I bring to the equation and what is different is operational experience. You know, I think the ability to look at an investment or to look at a organization and understand how it works or what's going to happen, I think is quite different than somebody that's just grown up on the banking side of the house. And I think that's both what I bring to the equation and what I think, you know, RedBird also brings to the equation. Mm-hmm. Operational experience is different than just investing, and I think that's really where you get the magic.
So help us understand a little bit where exactly it makes sense looking into potential acquisitions regionally, which segments of the media and entertainment industry. Maybe let's start with the regional aspects. Are all of the continents equally interesting?
Well, I don't know that every continent is equally interesting. I mean, just looking at obviously North America is something that we're obviously quite focused on. Europe is something that we're quite focused on, especially on the media side, on the entertainment side. You mentioned our investment in All3 Media out of the UK. You know, we do believe in Europe. We do think there's opportunity across the continent, especially as we look at All3 and our desire to continue to grow that. I think there's opportunities across Europe. They may not necessarily be central to Germany, for instance, mm-hmm. But I think that the European content space is something that we actually believe in quite a bit, and I think that for us, largely English speaking, North America, Europe are places that we're very interested in.
But from what you said in a side note, I understand that direct investments in Germany do not seem like a priority to you.
I mean, in all candor, and I'm sorry, but you know, listen, we would never rule anything out. So let me say that. Having said that, Germany is not a focus for us, and especially as I think about the European content marketplace, as it were, I think that other countries are better opportunities, frankly, in Europe. Germany is not our focus, and not really where we're spending a lot of time thinking about.
And looking at Europe, at the European content business through an American lens, what is specific about it? What is different? We're having these discussions a lot in many areas now. It seems more than before like an us versus them kind of thing when we talk about regulation and stuff. How do you look at the European content sphere?
Well, for us, I mean, for us, it's not us versus them. I mean, I think there's opportunities on both sides of the Atlantic. And I think if people aren't taking advantage of that, that's an opportunity for us as well. I think on this side of the Atlantic, on the European side, you know, it's why we thought All3Media out of the UK was a good opportunity. That's the largest independent production company in the UK. It's had a good run. It's continuing to do well. I think that there's opportunities, especially in the UK and you know, France and Italy. I think there's opportunities, and I don't think it becomes one or the other. I don't think that's. And frankly, right now, out of the United States, a lot of the distributors, especially the new streamers, are looking to places like the UK and for new content and for content opportunities. So I think that this is actually an opportunity at this time.
And when you invest in a company like All3Media, how do you then go on to operate? Other new shareholders exchange the board, for example. In that case, Jane Turton was the CEO before. She's still the CEO right now. So how do you engage?
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, one of the things that appealed to us about All3 was its management team. So that's one of the things you look at when we make an investment. We thought highly of the management team there, and we still do. We did not change that management team. I think that we layer on our experience, both, you know, my operational experience and our financial discipline, and I think that is what we would like to think makes the difference. Obviously, whenever you make an investment, you do consider the management team that's in place. We did not make a change in that respect, and that's because we believed in them. Obviously, we've done other investments across the globe. Sometimes we make management changes, sometimes we don't, and I think that's hopefully the experience that I have and that I bring to the table as to whether or not we should make a change.
But is it fair to expect that All3, with your capital, will make further acquisitions throughout Europe?
We did not buy. It's a fair question. We did not buy All3 to stand pat. Mm-hmm. So we want to grow. We want to grow, and we want to continue to invest. And so we are looking for opportunities. Look, I think that one of the things over the next few years is that for companies like that to succeed, you're going to have even greater scale and greater heft. And so although the company's doing well as it is, I think that we will continue to look for opportunities. Mm-hmm.
Another even bigger production group that is kind of on the shopping table is ITV Studios, and your name has been floated in previous month around that too. Apparently, you decided against ITV Studios.
Look, we look at opportunities across the board, and we have obviously looked at many such opportunities. I'm not going to comment specifically on that one, although ITV Studios is a terrific company, and it's the kind of company that I think you never know, but that we're not looking at it now at all, and I don't want to mislead anybody, but I do think that in the years to come, you're going to have greater scale, and you're going to have to, and you're going to see further consolidation across the European content space, and I think that's coming.
Beyond content production, which other sectors in media and entertainment are relevant for you? Yeah,
look, we're big believers in sports, live sports production. We think that's one of the things that there's tremendous global interest in. So, for us, I think sports, live events are really of great interest to us. And then I think I'm very interested in the creator economy and the digital space, and you know, again, each of those individual spaces are not going to have the scale of some of the things we're talking about. But I think if you aggregate the creator economy and the digital space, that's of great interest to us as well.
How would you do that? I mean, we're talking about the creator economy a lot these days here at Medientage too. And it always seems to me like at the center are a lot of individual characters, of course, that have managed to build
their own individual brands.
Exactly. Yeah. So what would be the actual target for you to invest in? Because I suppose you're always searching for at least a little bit of scale.
Yeah, we are. I mean, I think the opportunity there is to find individual creators who have built a brand that's not going to just be a flash in the pan and is not going to be gone in a year or two. And I think that's part of the equation, is to figure out what's real, you know, what's a flash in the pan and what's lasting. And my only advice to individual creators is that, you know, if you want to build a real business, it has to be sustainable and have a real reason to make me want to pay for it, and or to have the audience or have an individual pay for it. I think what we would be looking for would be to, you know, roll up a few of those individual creators into a larger company. I think, you know, investing in individual creators, I think is hard to do.
Unless it's Mr. Beast or something.
Unless it's Mr. Beast, exactly. So, and you know, listen, there's only going to be one or two Mr. Beasts. So, you know, but we can take a wide lens and look at the opportunity to put a few things together, and you know, take out individual costs. That's something that we're interested in. There are companies that are already doing that. We're interested in that. Look, I think that it's going to be hard to build the next All3, or it's going to be hard to build the next ITV studios, or it's going to be hard to build one of those. I do think it's going to be a combination of these, putting together a few of these smaller creators.
You even seem to be interested in newspaper companies. You were going to invest in the British Telegraph Group. Now RedBird is doing it without IMI. But in general, is it like something that you still see a future in a newspaper brand going digital?
Yeah, well, I think that's the key. It's you just said it's a brand, right? It's not necessarily about a print newspaper. But I do think that there are very few great brands. If you think about the English-speaking world, the Telegraph is one of the great brands in the English-speaking world, and so I think that that's what's appealing. It's not because you want to get into the business of continuing to print an actual newspaper over the next decade, but I think the ability to take that brand and digitally grow it is real. And it's very hard for an individual creator to create a new brand. It happens. But to take a brand that exists, like the Telegraph, for instance, or others, and grow that digitally, the way the New York Times has grown its brand. I mean, you would say, well, why would you invest in the New York Times? Because it's a newspaper. It's not. It's a digital brand, right? It's the same idea. And there's not going to be a lot of New York Timeses either, but it's the same idea. So I do think that in that world, brands that have that kind of equity globally are really powerful and strong, and we're interested in that. You think about brands that have been around for 100 years or 150 years. Don't think of them as a newspaper or a magazine or anything like that. Think of them as a digital company, and what's their ability to transform themselves. That's what we're looking for.
Mm-hmm. You've been mentioning consolidation now twice, and that's, of course, a huge trend in the media industry. We're seeing these big conglomerates getting bigger and bigger. Right now, a couple of days ago, news about your former company. I mean, it has grown so much through mergers. WBD might or might not become part of Paramount Skydance. So according to you, where is this development gonna lead? Is there like some glass ceiling and then it will go the other way around again, or where does this immense consolidation lead the industry?
Well, I think that media is at a point in its history where technology has transformed it so much that there is need for consolidation. If you look at the Silicon Valley companies and the social media platforms that have really transformed the way that media is consumed, or that information is consumed, or that the way that consumers behave, the more traditional legacy media companies have to consolidate in order to compete and survive. And so, look, I think that's natural, and I think you'll continue to see more consolidation in the years to come among the more traditional legacy, older media companies. It's the only way we're going to be able to compete against all the new entrants that have upended the way people behave.
And as an experienced manager, you know, of course, that it's quite complex and quite difficult to lead those huge organizations in terms of different cultures also coming together.
It's really hard. Yeah, no, I mean, listen. A lot of big media mergers or consolidation don't necessarily work, and that's because bringing cultures together is very hard. That's the magic of good leadership. But it's hard. But on the other hand, you can't be afraid of it. And you can't do it. You can't say we're not going to do it because we can't consolidate. And we can't bring cultures together. You just have to do a good job. But you have to know going in that it's going to be one of the more difficult aspects of whatever you're trying to do.
RedBird is obviously an important part behind the Skydance Paramount merger. As I understand, you are not involved in that one. So
I am not.
Can you briefly explain how you do it? Is there like a Chinese wall between investments that RedBird does and that RedBird IMI does?
There is. I mean, and that's where we started, which is that RedBird IMI is this joint venture that RedBird is part of. But separately, RedBird has its own investments that RedBird IMI is not always part of. And so, sometimes they're involved in things that we don't have anything to do with, and vice versa. And certainly Paramount is one example of that, and that comes through the RedBird side of the house.
And sometimes, like in the UK with the Telegraph, having an Emirati partner is, let's say, not welcome.
Well, let's just say that when we tried to do that 2 years ago now, or almost 2 years ago, I think there were some internal UK politics that made our ability on the IMI side to invest not possible at that time, certainly in a majority position. I think that was unfortunate. I think it was obviously not, I don't think it was in anybody's best interest at the time, but the UK government took a position, and as we know from German politics and US politics, there are certain times in history where certain things rear themselves, and that was just one of them, and that was unfortunate.
I'd be remiss, of course, as a long-time journalistic leader, not to ask you in times like this, where we have something unbelievable, crazy coming out of the White House on almost daily basis, like a lot of really important and severe global conflicts playing out. Do you miss running a newsroom? Do you miss running an organization like CNN, which from all the reports I always read, you were actually, even as the CEO, quite operational in leading and editorial details?
Do I miss it? I mean, look, it's a really important time to lead a news organization. And I loved what I did there, and I enjoyed it. So on that level, sure, I miss leading a global newsroom, and you know, and I do think it's a really important time in not just U.S. history, but global history because of what's going on in the U.S. So sure, yeah, I miss that. On the other hand, the way that corporate America is, corporate ownership of media, of newsrooms, corporate ownership of newsrooms in the U.S. today is very tough, and they're running quite scared, and that's certainly not how we ran the newsroom, and not certainly how we behaved. So I think it would be very hard to run a newsroom under those circumstances. So yes, but not really.
One of the results, of course, of what you just briefly described is that it gets more and more polarized in like political content being put out. From an economical standpoint, is it even still possible to run a huge news organization based on being non-partisan, being like trying to be neutral?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, I think neutral is a loaded word.
Let's say non-partisan.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. Do I think it's possible? I do. I do think it's possible, but I think it's really hard. Okay? I think it's possible, but you know, corporate ownership the way it is right now in the United States of media makes it hard. Do I think it's possible to run a profitable, successful, you know, nonpartisan journalistic outlet? I do, but you better have ownership that is willing to stand tall and be firm, and there's not a ton of that right now in the United States.
Mm. Somewhere in the back of your mind, is there like an early plan, some ideas how to make an acquisition that could put you at the helm of CNN again? I mean, I do read that some American colleagues speculate about that.
I don't, you know, I don't really envision that, but you know, I know a lot of people speculate about it as well. It's not in the cards today. Let's see what happens in the future.
We will see. So thank you so much. All the best, of course, for your future endeavors.
My pleasure.
Hope to see you back in Munich in a couple of years.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jeff Zucker.
Thanks for inviting me. Thank you.